Can you introduce yourself and Bitcoin OS?
I'm Yago. For close to 13 years now, I've been working on Bitcoin with one goal in mind. I want to make it possible for people to use their Bitcoin in as many ways as possible without ever having to go through a middleman or an intermediary. And for that to happen, we needed to turn Bitcoin into a system where really today you can only do two things on Bitcoin. You can hold your Bitcoin or you can transfer your Bitcoin. That's the entire list of things that you can do. So we need to turn Bitcoin into a system where you can do anything, any kind of computing, any program, any smart contract. And what Bitcoin OS is it's an operating system that for the first time allows Bitcoin to become a smart contract programmable system.
So you're turning it into much more than just a cryptocurrency. What you're doing, like, how does it benefit individuals and businesses? Like, what would this mean for them?
Well, just a few years ago, we saw so many people lose money on BlockFi and Celsius and FTX, right? And we've seen this happen again and again and again. People come into Bitcoin, they come into crypto, and they lose money, or they become too scared to do anything, and so they hold their money and don't do anything with it, which is another way of losing money. So the reason this is happening is because the whole reason we created crypto in the first place was to take away the need to trust these other third parties. And instead of doing that, we've sort of reintroduced them. And the reason we've reintroduced them is because we haven't built decentralized systems that can replace them. And so the first big benefit is that individuals will now be able to put their Bitcoin to use, to create Bitcoin-backed stablecoins, to trade, to borrow and lend with their Bitcoin without having to go through an intermediary. One of the things that Cardano has done is put a big emphasis on Africa, for example. Bitcoin is very, very limited. There's never going to be space for 100 million African users to use Bitcoin directly. But with what we're building, we can build systems that scale Bitcoin that allow those people to directly use Bitcoin. And one of the other things that Cardano has done is placed a huge focus on institution, right? Institutional players, governments, hedge funds, financial systems. They are really only interested in one asset, and that's Bitcoin. And right now, the only way they can utilize Bitcoin is through the ETF or their own self-custody. And so we can build tools which will allow institutions to actually start doing more interesting things with the one asset that they're interested in, Bitcoin.
So as just like an average, like everyday user with this integration, like if I was holding my Bitcoin, it would allow me to do more than just trading and buying Bitcoin. It would allow me to do so much more with my Bitcoin, and also with businesses in regards to obviously like building out their platforms and having, people obviously who want to build on Bitcoin. It allows them to grow across chain.
That's right, yes.
That's amazing. How does Bitcoin OS benefit Cardano?
Well, look, I come from the Bitcoin world, and the system that we're building, Bitcoin OS, it turns Bitcoin into this platform that can do any kind of compute. But Bitcoin still only has 4 megabytes of data per block every 10 minutes. That's not a lot. And so the way our system works is we can actually see what's happening. We can actually allow Bitcoin to see what's happening in other blockchains. And most of the computation is probably going to happen on other platforms. And in many ways, Cardano is the best one for that, because Cardano is the only big UTXO smart contract platform in the world outside of Bitcoin. Now today, Cardano has, $250 million in TVL. But there's $1.4 trillion in value in Bitcoin, which is just sitting dormant, waiting to be awoken by a smart contract platform that can provide scale and smart contracts and the ability for developers to build things on it. And so there's an opportunity to marry this massive system, which has a lot of developers, Cardano, and it's sort of purpose-built for Bitcoin, with this massive system of value and wealth, which is Bitcoin. And if you put those two together, if you marry those two together, both of those ecosystems can flourish in ways which up until now were impossible. I think this is not just a new era for Bitcoin. It's a new era for Cardano as well, right? Cardano has spent all of its lifetime thinking long-term. There's nothing more long-term than Bitcoin in the entire crypto space. And if Cardano becomes the platform in which we build new programmability into Bitcoin, that's a new lease of life for Cardano. It's a whole new sort of world of use cases, a universe of use cases for Cardano. And so I think, that is the advantage of thinking long term, and the two chains that can do that together, married together, is Bitcoin and Cardano.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, like, obviously adoption and growth is so important, and certain chains are stronger in certain areas than others, and them coming together just allows for this just like explosion of growth. So obviously Bitcoin and then Cardano coming together in this regard, it's huge. It's obviously it's so beneficial for Bitcoin, but it's massive for Cardano because obviously you get this obviously all this liquidity coming in, and this is adoption. Wow, this is huge for Cardano. Thank you so much for your time, and yeah, strap in, guys. It's going to be double smash. Literally.